Welcome, entrepreneurs and future business owners. My name is Corey A. Wilson. I am your host, and I am joined by my co-host, partner, and wife.
My name is Nakeicha Wilson.
And we'd like to welcome you to the Wilson Podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to educate and build a community around entrepreneurship. So today, the topic of today, it's about something that we're working with other entrepreneurs in, and that's delegation. And that's the decision to delegate and when to give up that control and how to do it without going crazy. So let's just have a conversation about that. The last few episodes we talked about financial literacy. We talked about the cost of not planning in your business. And now we're going to talk about delegation. So delegation is something that we're dealing with entrepreneur right now as we speak that's having some issues around delegating responsibilities within our business.
Right.
So let's talk about, I guess, your take on delegation and what's the benefit of delegation and what's the downside of delegation?
Well, one of the things that I learned when we were preparing for this episode is that control is the number one thing that's stopping. Control is the number one founder's trap. Like a lot of business owners start off the business, and when they start off the business, it's just them. So they're used to doing everything. They're used to having like the control. They want ownership. But in order to grow, you have to learn how to delegate. And I think delegation isn't just an act, right? And we'll get into this later, but there's some psychological barriers and behaviors that makes delegating hard for some business owners.
Okay. Yeah, and what we've come to find out is that delegation is necessary in a business, because if you don't delegate, you're building a trap for yourself and for your business, which means you are the bottleneck. You are the reason you can't scale, because you are the beginning, the end, the alpha, the omega. You make sure that whatever happens, you are aware of. It's also known as micromanaging.
Right.
Right. So I think the goal in delegation is what we think, first thing is to understand what's going on in your business. What's the process? What's the systems?
Right. Like you can't delegate anything if there's no system in place. And what we find with a lot of business owners is they are still functioning the same way they were functioning when it was just them. 5 years later, 6 years later, 7 years later, even if they hire people, they're still functioning the same way. So you have to have systems in place. If you don't have systems, you really can't effectively delegate.
Yeah. And again, effective delegation is necessary to growth and scalability. And I think the one thing that most business owners are having issues with outside of those things is that it's that trust issue. Right? You have to trust people in order to delegate these tasks to them, because your business is your baby for most people. And when you grow something and you build something, you know the things that work right and work well and the things that don't. So I think that one of the things you should be doing when you're looking to delegate within your business is to find competent people.
Right.
Find people who can do the job effectively, who have a history of doing that business or that service.
I don't necessarily think you need someone to have a history. I think if you have a system and if you have a framework, then you can show anyone how to do those tasks or those things that you want to do. So I don't think you necessarily need someone to have a history. I think you need a framework. I think you need a structured framework. I think you need something that you can measure so that you can determine if that task or that project is successful.
Yeah. Well, and that's true too. But also I believe that some of the people that are hiring for these positions, it's hard for them to run the business and teach. So they need to have someone in place, a person in the middle, a manager, a supervisor, someone who understands the task and that can oversee that process Because like you said, once you have a process, then there is no messing it up. This way to do it, and there's a way not to do it.
Right. I just looked up the word delegation, and I'm just gonna kind of give the definition. It's the strategic assignment of authority and responsibility to another person to carry out specific tasks or make decisions. And the reason I pulled up that definition is because one of the things that I think we don't really think about when we talk about delegation is the psychology of delegation and relinquishing control. And some people struggle with relinquishing control because you've heard the statement, if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. But that's not, you can't use that in business. Like, you can't grow your business if that's how you're functioning. But some people have like anxiety, and they use, this business can't function without me.
Yeah.
Right? As a way to kind of evaluate themselves and increase their own personal value. So when you start to give people, or other people are doing the task, or delegate the task, some business owners feel as if that's taking away some of their value, what they bring to the business.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of, we go into the whole mindset and talking about people wanting to have the whole thing under their control, right? And I'll refer this to a phrase or a saying where people are saying, I'd rather not eat the whole apple. I'd rather have a part of a watermelon.
Right.
Meaning that if you have...
I've never heard that, but okay.
It goes something like that. But the topic, the whole meaning behind that is that you have something that you can have for yourself, but it's just for you and yourself. When you can grow that thing to something larger than yourself and have a piece of it, but it served more people.
Got it.
So I probably did mess up that phrase, but anyway, with that being said, the whole idea is you want growth.
Right.
There are some people that are in business that don't want to grow. They want to keep their business small. They want to keep it local. And they're not looking for that extra opportunity.
Yeah, they're content, right? And we know a few business owners. We know a business owner actually who have a small, very small business. She makes everything fresh. She makes everything by hand. That's what she wants, right? So for that business owner, she's successful because she's doing exactly what she wants to do. But when you have business owners, we have another business owner that we're working with, have a staff of, 11 or 12 people. But what tends to happen with this business owner is this business owner has created a culture where everyone has to come to them for the answers. So now the business owner is actually the bottleneck, right? So the business owner is actually the one that's stopping the business from growing because they haven't created a system for the business in general so that the staff knows if this, then this. If this, then this, or fully execute this project without me. And if you make a mistake, let's figure out what the mistakes are and put something in place so it doesn't happen again. So I think delegation is one of those basic leadership skills that business owners struggled with. And they struggle with it, again, either due to habit, due to psychological barriers or blind spots that they may not be aware of. But again, in order to grow your business, you have to delegate, and you have to learn how to delegate correctly.
So let me ask you a question here then. So as a CEO, right, of a business, and you have, let's say, 10 employees, and you're looking to start delegating, you are, like you said, the bottleneck, right? Who would be, I guess, your first hire, your most important hire, and why would you hire this person?
So I heard two things. I heard as a CEO, you have 10 employees. Did you say that?
Yep.
And then you say who would be your first hire. So
to delegate, because you're the manager at that point. Again, when you start a business, you're wearing all the hats. You're the CEO, the CFO, the COO, the CMO. You all the O's. But when you start to delegate, who's the first hire outside of an employee that is doing the manual work, and find someone to relinquish your responsibilities as the whatever, CMO, CFO, COO, whichever one you think, which will be the best hat to take off and put on to the next person?
Probably an administrative assistant. Probably like a right-hand type person that I can say, hey, there's emails, there's things that I need to follow up on. Like, as a business owner, there's a lot of small back office things that need to be done that consumed our time. Mm-hmm. I was working on a project the other day, and I did a little analysis of it, and it was like a $10 an hour project that I probably shouldn't have been working on, but it was something that needed to be done. So I would say probably an administrative assistant to just kind of help organize and structure you as the business owner, help take some of those things off of your hand so you can start to think about the future, right? And what you want the next thing to look like. Yeah.
Okay. So I like that, but I think for me, who I would put in that place and who I would start with, I think it would be just a floor manager.
Or a floor manager?
Well, a manager of the employees to take care of the day in and day out issues.
So hold on. Let's back up for a second, because now I'm getting a little confused. Because you said who would be the first person you would hire?
Yeah, with 10 people. If you already have 10 people, right? That are working in the business, right? That are doing special and specific tasks in your business, right?
Okay, so
I'll give you an example. So I own an ice cream shop, right?
Right.
I have a cashier.
Right.
I have a person that's doing the supplies, making sure that the stuff comes in.
Right.
I have a cleaning person.
Okay.
All right. I have a person that is managing the finance piece.
Okay.
Right. Now, with all of them, they're all coming to me because I'm writing the checks, I'm setting the hours.
Okay.
I'm making sure that I'm double checking behind everyone.
Right.
So when I'm in that position, that's a simplified version. If I'm in that position, who am I hiring after I have those people in place, because the business is running already?
Okay, so a manager.
Yeah.
So you'd hire a manager, and the manager would be the buffer between you and the employees. So the employees would go to the manager, and that kind of frees up your time to think about what you're going to do for the business.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. I agree with it. Now that I have a better understanding, I was thinking first employees, and then it depends on the type of business that you have, right?
That too.
If I have, let's talk about the laundromat. This is actually a good transition. When we had the laundromat, we had, I think, 5 employees and me. And then Corey, you had your full-time job, but you would come in and help as needed. And because I didn't have a manager, I didn't have a buffer in between me and the staff, I was doing the hours and the scheduling and the payroll and everything. So I think you're absolutely right. But it depends on the industry, right? So that's the laundromat example. Now that we're in the service, the business coaching and consulting industry, I wouldn't hire a manager because there's no need to hire a manager. I would hire almost like a mini-me, right, to help take some of those administrative tasks off my plate. So I guess to really answer your question, it depends on the type of business that you have. And now with technology, I think it's really identifying where I would get the best value from that hire.
Yeah, that's what I'm seconding. I definitely would say that too, because there's a value you can put on your time, right? And your time is valuable because while you have the time, you can grow, you can do other things that can support your business, you can get more business, you can focus on some of the marketing, some of the things that's going to get you leads and bring in that extra work.
Right.
But for most entrepreneurs and most business owners, they're too caught up in the weeds of the daily grind, the things that are happening day in and day out, in order to free themselves up to even think outside the box to that degree. Right?
Absolutely. And I've been there, right? And I think we're still kind of there, right? It's easier now because we have a service business, but when we had a brick and mortar business, when you get caught up, like you can't think about the number of things that show up as a business owner that you need to do and that you need to accomplish on a daily basis. I'm going to go back to the laundromat for a minute. You know, a lot of people say the laundromat business is easy, right? That's easy money. I've always wanted a laundromat. Yeah. But outside of just opening the doors and letting customers in, you still have to manage inventory. You have to manage maintaining the machines. You have to manage cleaning and repair and maintenance of the machines on a weekly sometimes basis. You have to manage the people. You have to manage, like we live in New Jersey, so when it snows, if we have a snowstorm, we still have to figure out how do we get to this laundromat and clean this space because people are still coming out to do their laundry. Mm-hmm. And that's just the things that I can just kind of throw out there off the top of my head. But there's also managing, like I said, the staff, managing inventory, managing your numbers, right? You have to kind of step back and say, okay, what did I make over the last 3 months? Was that sufficient? Like, what do I have to put in place to generate more income? Do I need to cut expenses? All of that, insurance, liability, like if you have to make sure you have the proper liability and access to an attorney if someone falls on your property. We had an incident where there was a robbery. There was damage to the machine, and these are just things, again, that I'm just kind of measuring. This has nothing to do with revenue and expenses. These are just one-off things. So I think this is why it's important to understand delegation and why you have to delegate and the importance of delegating, but also identifying the core. Like if you're a business owner and you struggle with delegating, I think you have to get to the core of why am I struggling with delegating, right? Is it a personality thing? Is it a control thing? Is it a trust thing? Is it anxiety? Like unless you get to the core of what's stopping you from, maybe it's a system thing. Maybe you don't have a system in place. We have a business owner that have everything in her head. Right. So we have to set up, I don't know, a month, 2 months, 3 months. We don't know what it's going to take yet to kind of mirror her and identify the bottlenecks and then put systems in place. And that's just putting the systems in place. And then we have to get to the point where she's now releasing, giving up the power so someone else can do it.
Yeah, and so with delegation, I think that really, on top of that, like you said, identifying what needs to be delegated, I think what entrepreneurs really need with support in that space is they need to find someone that's a counselor, someone that can coach them. Yeah. Someone that can...
we might have to redo this.
No. So, find out someone who can identify what they're not seeing. Most business owners, they're in it by themselves. They are not reaching out to mentors. They're not reaching out to be coached or find coaching or finding people that can find blind spots in what they're doing in their business. And so for entrepreneurs and business owners that I believe that need some support with that are in the business, that are making some income and have some employees, I think that a great resource and a tool for them to use is to reach out to a free resource such as SCORE, which is a organization that has retired executives that support entrepreneurs in things they've done for over 20, 30 plus years all across the nation. And I think that's a good place for them to start, for one, to identify where they need support. Ask these questions that we're kind of posing, which is, what would be my first hire and why?
Right.
What's the benefit of that or benefit of them? Making sure that they can be integrated within their business seamlessly, and what's needed to make sure that the transition is smooth. Because a lot of business owners, again, are in the business by themselves.
Right.
They don't have support. They don't have other entrepreneurs to speak to and have the conversation with. And again, I think this is one of the reasons why we started the Wilson podcast, is again to create a community of entrepreneurs where we can not just share our experiences, but share the ideas we have around topics that are important to us, that will help us grow, and again, bounce ideas off of other individuals and take into account their experiences and the thing that they've done. So
one of the things business owners can try, or you can try as a business owner, is ask yourself, right, if I was to leave my business for 2 weeks, what would need to be put in place for it to run sufficiently? And they can't call you, they can't contact you, they can't email you. And you may need to just spend some time by yourself and think about, just kind of visualize, if I was away for 2 weeks, what do I need to put in place for my business to run? And like Corey said, I'm all for coaching. I'm all for mentors. Utilize resources around you. Utilize the people that have been through what you're currently going through, and they can definitely give you some pointers. I wish I had reached out for coaching and consulting when we were running the brick and mortar business. I definitely would not have made as many mistakes, but that's I didn't. But as a result of that, I have a lot of stories and a lot of lessons that I learned. It cost me something, but needless to say, I think it's really important to ask yourself that question. Are you an employee in your business, or can your business function without you?
Yeah, and with that being said, the cost of some of those experiences is experience. So you never really lose in a business when you're working. You always are learning either what to do better or what not to do at all. And I think having context around that means something, even though most of us don't have the time to sit down and think about it because we're running 24/7. But I think providing a space like this, people can tap in and they want to listen in to hear what's going on and hear different perspectives, and hopefully gets a clue of what's going on with other business owners and see that they're not alone, to also build them up and give them options.
Right.
So I think that was pretty good. I think we kind of went into what one of our next episodes are going to be talking about, which we will be talking about soon, which is the pricing problem and understanding how to price your business and things around that space. So I think with that being said, I think this is a great space to come in and close out this episode. And with closing out, I'll say, I want to say that you can never know everything about everything in a business. That's not the goal. The goal is to understand enough about the business so that you can delegate parts of it to responsible people and grow. So with that being said, till next time, I'm Corey.
And I'm Nakeicha.
And it's the Wilson Podcast, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
All right.